What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to be throwing you guys a nice Prismatic Warlock build that lets you absolutely spam your abilities using that nice Ergo Sum, plus our exotic class item, the Solipsism, which is absolutely disgusting with the combination of perks that I have, getting our super back really fast, as well as juicing that damage, the Apotheosis and Star Eaters. So we're going to cover everything with this build for y'all, starting out with the perks that we do have on that exotic class item. Like I said, Spirit of Apotheosis, temporarily gain greatly increased melee and grenade generation after our super ends. So we're getting about 4 or 5 grenades off, as well as about 8 or 9 melees because of how we have this set up, and all of that pairs perfectly together with our fragments and other aspects, so you will see why as well. Second one that we got is Spirit of Star Eater. While our super is full E energy, we pick up those orbs to overcharge the super, granting it bonus damage, so it pairs perfectly with casting our super for that extra damage, and then after we cast it, we get that melee and grenade regen that is just absolutely nutty. So when we move on to our abilities, aspects, and fragments for the Prismatic subclass, I got 2 super options for you. First off is our Nova Bomb for the Cataclysmic here. Feels super nice with that extra bit of damage on it with the Star Eaters. That is why Needle Storm is my other choice, because this also feels super juicy with the Threadlings plus the damage that it does already, and Star Eater combination is absolutely disgusting. As for our other abilities, we got our Healing Rift with our Burst Glide. Could go with anything you want, Strafe, Balanced, etc. Now, importantly for me, I went with Arcane Needle 1 because we have 3 different melees for this. It'll unravel our targets as well, so we can create tangles with this. Plus, we're using that unravel for our fragments. But on top of that, when we do use our Apotheosis, we're going to be able to spam 2 of these in a row and then use our Storm Grenade, spam 2, use our Storm Grenade. That's why we're getting about 8 or 9 of these off, as well as about 4 or 5 of these off. So it is combination wise DPS crazy. Plus we're getting unraveling on all of that, and with the Storm Grenades, they linger a little bit longer and they all do individual damage. That's why something like a Vortex Grenade wouldn't work as well, because they won't stack damage wise. So you could use Threadlings as well if you wanted, but I personally liked Storm a little bit better because of our fragments as well. Now on top of that, we got Feed the Void, so we're going to get Devour with this build super easily by defeating targets with any ability, as well as when we have that Devour active, we gain some grenade energy and those health on defeats, allowing us to spam our Storm Grenade even more. On top of that, we're going to have Weaver's Call right here to grant us some Threadlings when we throw down our class ability, plus any damage by strand is going to have a chance to create those Threadlings for us, allowing us to perch 5 on us. So all of these are going to have the chance to create some Threadlings, as well as one of our weapon options. Now as for fragments, first off we got Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating those targets with light damage, going to give us that melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness grants us grenade energy, so a little positive feedback loop for just doing damage innately. With these is going to grant the opposite one a little bit of energy, so same as kind of like we're going to have on our armor mods with impact and bolstering detonation. Now Facet of Courage is our second one, so our Arc, Solar, or Void abilities deal increased damage to those targets affected by that darkness debuff. That is one of the reasons why having that unravel on our Arcane Needles is important, because our Arc ability with our grenade is going to do more damage against all those targets that we have that unravel procced on, as well as our super. Next on the list right here is Facet of Honor. Collecting elemental pickups or destroying tangles grants transcendent energy of the same type, so we're going to be creating some ionic traces and a bunch of tangles with this, including our super is going to give us a little bit of those void breaches. Next on the list is Facet of Solitude. Rapidly landing those precision hits emits a severing blast from targets, while Transcendent, the severing blast is bigger. Just alone, that sever is pretty big, and then while Transcendent, it is absolutely gigantic. So another way where we get a darkness debuff, which allows our grenade to do even more damage on them. And last but not least, allowing that Storm Grenade to really shine, we are getting Jolt on those arc grenades right here with Facet of Dominance. So ability spam is crazy with this. We're getting orbs of power literally everywhere with this build. We're using the Ergo Sum to get us a little bit of synergy with the Prismatic subclass, as well as the perk you have on it. You will see why it is super gnarly. Now, speaking of those weapons, we are going to go with the Blast Furnace as our option right here for our kinetic slot. Absolutely love this thing. Allows us to get that sever that I was talking about with our fragment, but this thing with kinetic tremors Firefly is S tier in my opinion for the PvE realm. As for our Ergo Sum, the one that I'm using is Gathering Light right here, a caster frame. I do wish it was like a wave frame or a Vorpal maybe, but those final blows grant stacks at Gathering Light. Stowing this weapon consumes those stacks, granting us melee, grenade, and class ability energy. When this is stacked up to ×10, you basically get the entire energy back for each of those, which allows us to, again, spam it even more often. So the combination of this, plus with our artifact, with that expanding abyss, we can do a little bit more damage with this when our teammates are helping us weaken targets. So very crazy combination with this Ergo Sum in itself, and we're gonna get its catalyst very soon right here. So dealing damage with a transcendent grenade grants us some ammunition, so when we are transcendent, we're gonna be able to get this ammunition for free with its ability to have that transcendent steel catalyst. As for our heavy, we got a couple different options. I was going with Pro Memoria, one because of that strand synergy and exploding strands with some of the things that we have on our artifact down there, but on top of that, we could go with anything right here with Edge Transit for that DPS, Hammerhead for that add clear and DPS with killing tally, Falling Guillotine if you want as well, Vorpal Bait and Switch absolutely juices damage, plus on top of that I do got Overload Sword on, so this would be Overload, plus this is as well. This is going to be anti-barrier for us, but I like all of these options. Really, I would go with Pro Memoria or this Hammerhead right here for that expanding abyss. As for stats and mods that we are building into this, Resilience and Recovery were my number 1 and 2 choices. Then I went Discipline, Intellect, and Strength as even of the road as I could get. Went with 60 in Discipline, 40 in Intellect, 60 in that Strength. Allowed us to spam our abilities like I've been saying with that triple melee, with Gathering Light on that sword, as well as our Fragment with the balance that allows us to get those innately back with each other. Plus on top of that, we have Impact Induction double, so causing damage with those melee gives us our grenades. Momentum gives us our grenade when we cause damage with our melee, vice versa. It is just crazy the synergy that we get with this build. On top of that, we're using Harmonic Siphon as well as Kinetic Siphon, so that nice Blast Furnace as well as our sword, or if you're using a heavy that is Void as well, going to create us even more orbs of power to help us to utilize that nice Star Eater scales for the exotic class item, allowing us to overcharge our super and get it a little bit quicker. On top of that, chest piece, totally up to you for whatever you're going into. Avoid solar arc resistance, again, totally up to the activity. Now, to allow us to spam our abilities even more, Absolution gives us all ability when we pick up those orbs. Orbs of Restoration gives us our least amount of energy ability a little bit, as well as Invigoration. We're going to get our melee, so we're going to pick up all of those orbs when we throw down our class ability with the Powerful Attraction, creating even more orbs of power with Reaper after we throw down our class ability. Any weapon is going to have a chance to create that orb, as well as Bomber when we use our class ability, get a little bit of that energy back for our lightning grenade, allows us to have that ability spam even more. When we move on to our artifact right here, we're going to be utilizing a few different things. Anti-barrier pulse for that Blast Furnace, of course, with the winning hand. If we are using that Pro Memoria, we're going to have Dealer's Choice, giving us some nice explosion on those precision final blows or rapidly defeating combatants. So very interesting little artifact perk. Elemental charge mods that we have on are going to do a little bit less damage to our mod economy, if you will, by costing less of that energy. On top of that, that is one of the reasons right here with Threaded Blast. All of those tangles are going to have larger explosions, and they are gigantic when we defeat them with a strand weapon. One of the reasons why I was using that Pro Memoria. Now we're going to have Overload Sword, like I said, so if you are using using Fall Guillotine that's going to have Overload, plus our Ergo Sum is on top of that. Elemental Siphon, we're going to create even more of those breaches as well as the Stranded Tangles with this kinetic weapon, or weapons matching our super type matches those elemental pickups. So depending on the super you are using, Nova Bomb or Needle Storm allow us to have a bunch of extra little pickups that we have. On top of that, we're going to get that melee and grenade energy back faster when we stun champions right here with Radiant Orbs. Picking up all those orbs that we got gives us Radiant, allowing us to do a little bit more damage. On top of that, Argent Blade, our Ergo Sum as well as Falling Guillotine, if you're using it, is going to do some more damage when we have that armor charge. Very nice little perk that we have on, especially when it pairs with our Overload Sword. Last but not least, we got Expanding Abyss, so our void weapons or our super are going to do more damage against those weakened targets. Now, we aren't per se doing the weakening ourselves, but hopefully one of our teammates do. So if you're going in solo, you won't have to use this. I would throw on your Shield Crash, because with Radiant we get grenade faster. With any of the frozen overshield that we're getting, we're going to get the melee recharge faster, so it allows us to spam. But overall, this will be a nice 35% damage increase with Expanding Abyss. So this build, absolutely juicy if we can get some weaken with the Star Eaters on, plus the Apotheosis, plus our super. We're able to juice that Nova Pump DPS wise, and then, like I said, throw out a bunch of lightning grenades that'll jolt, a bunch of melees that unravel, tangles will be everywhere, and then on top of that, we can just throw rifts left and right as well with the positive feedback loop that we have of this build, allowing us to have threadlings literally everywhere. So this build definitely surprised me with the ability regen rate of all of our abilities, plus with Ergo Sum on, having that ability with Gathering Light to proc times 10, giving us back basically an entire charge for all of our abilities, grenade, melee, and our rift. It is super fun, does everything that you need it to with ad clear as well as DPS. So I would definitely suggest my Warlocks try this out, get to grinding out that dual destiny, and then go to Pale Heart, do all of those chests, whatever you got to do, grind out that overload for one of these Ergo Sums. There is nothing that is stopping you from using this build this season for sure. Very easy that everybody can do it as well. But again, appreciate all that support y'all have given me lately. Final Shape, these echoes have been super fun. Love the content they have given us, as well as this prismatic subclass exotic class items gives the potential for almost infinite builds, it feels like. So be on the lookout for a bunch of those. Come and hit that subscribe and bell button if you have not. Gives you that nice little notification when we post here on the channel, so you don't miss out on any of this banging content. But again, appreciate all you guys for subscribing, liking the videos. Helps me out, helps the channel out a bunch. And again, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.